time public learned about you when you are active in politics was when you were doing elections in 2013.
Yeah.
That time you are deputy leader of UDF.
Yes.
Now, can you tell us how did you transition from UDF to PNU?
Well, one thing is, thank you, Mtegi, for having me this morning, and I think after the 2013 results and our performance, which we were happy about, myself and Mudavadi, having started just then, and we got whatever it is that we got, we were happy about it. There are political developments that have been there. We had difficulties in UDF and the leadership, which we thought that was not going to help us grow our political careers. And we sat with Mheshimiwa Musalia Mudavadi. He moved on with the money, and I moved to PNU.
A few weeks ago, you sent something about your relationship with Mudavadi and how you ended up being a presidential running mate. What is it you said for record purposes?
No. I think one of the important things is that I think there is still that issue that people would want to talk about voting, which I attribute to at least the journalists who did not bother to find out, who never bothered to establish. Some of them were malicious. Certainly they will have their day in court. I have said that many times, because if one wanted to find out whether where I vote, you would quickly find out which polling station. I'm not a Laikipia person. I am in Nyandarua. I don't vote in Rurumo where they quoted. I vote in a place called Kanyagia. I think that was one of the things that I have made clear over the time, but eventually I know the court will deal with it. And I want to say that it's important for people who are in the media industry to do a little bit of homework, because it can be very costly. It can hurt people's career, but it can also be very hard costly for them, because if this issue comes out in the form of a defamation, I mean, you will go down painfully trying to pay for it. I think the other thing would be that every time people are vying for the presidential seat, you will have your followers. You will have people who vote for you, and they will come from different regions, and how they do it, and certainly impacts on the national picture. So we were there, and we got the support of 483,000 votes. Those are not few votes. Quite a number of people who would have voted for us became there was apathy, and that trend needs to be checked clearly or very closely this 2017, because you don't know how it will impact on the presidential vote come 2017.
So your party leader PNU.
Yes.
How did you get there?
Well, elected, because there is a neck that exists within PNU. After 2013, there was a desire by some people to wind up PNU.
Yeah.
That did not happen. But PNU is in a coalition agreement with the TNA. And to support TNA until 2017, and that continues. You know, Mutegi, you can recall that PNU was in power from 2007 to 2013. That's not a small party to just wish away. It's a party that has assets in this town and other parts of this country. And I think some individuals desired to end up with those assets, and that's why they were in a hurry to wind it up. They got to the tune of 48 million shillings from the political party fund. And those who are in office there are unable to explain as to how the funds were used. And I think those were the forces that were pushing for its being wound up. It's difficult to wind up a party that has such a history, and a party that has followers across the country. It's not a regional party.
You're in partnership with the TNA?
Yes.
And TNA and the other parties want to merge to Jubilee?
Which is, yeah.
So are you expecting you are going to end PNU and join JAP?
One of the things that is interesting in this country is the dynamism of parties, if you call it dynamic, that's being dynamic. And I think there is always that every other election you have new parties, new formations and the rest. And the desire by individuals and people to form one party now, JP, I think it's JP, it's nothing unusual, nothing new. I think it is political calculations to see how is it that people can win easily. PNU, the neck of PNU has sat and they are on the view that they would not want to merge. They would desire to be in a coalition agreement, but not to merge. And I want to say that as an individual, you can go and join any party, including JP. But I don't think it is it's a prudent thing to dissolve parties, to merge parties, to collapse parties overnight. And even as you say that TNA, URP are merging, other than the newspaper reports, it will be good to see and find out whether that has actually happened. Because if that happens, it's a legal process. And whether that legal process has even been started.
What they are doing is that they have gone to Parliament. They want to amend the Political Parties Act so that people, when the parties merge, TNA and URP to make JP, the members of Parliament do not have to resign. That's the plan.
And we will have to wait to see whether that form of legislation will be supported by Parliament, and also whether it can withstand a constitutional challenge. And but allow me to deal with a little bit of the history of this thing. You know, Mutegi, we were in a one-party thing. And I remember seeing you as one of the fellows who were trying to struggle to get us out of one-party system.
Yes.
And it was not, we were not getting out of it because of joy. It's the pain that the one-party regime brought to us. And even as we sit here this morning, we need to remember that individuals like Kenneth Matiba, Charles Rubia, are ailing, and especially Kenneth Matiba is ailing. Why? Because he put his life on the line so that he can get us out of one-party system. He used all his resources to try and fight for that. So to so quickly wind up and again go back to what we were running away from, I think it's a bit tricky. It's a bit, I think it's something that we really need to think through. It may look like maybe it's a way to consolidate a vote and win easily, but also the effects, the side effects or the negative effects to me are more worrying. If you look at when you deny people an opportunity to express themselves freely and to try and ascend to power or positions that are elective, you end up with a pot that can burst. And the fact that you can seek for elections from different points, from different parties, allows, if you ask me, it also gives the people who support you some incentive to get involved in the democratic process. I am trying to allude to this. Even the reason why I should register as a voter is because I know I'll exercise my right. But if I think that my being a registered voter ends up or means nothing, because you have a process that gives you a reader whether you like it or not, then why do I need to register as a voter?
What are you
what I'm saying is that in so doing, you could easily be playing in the hands of even the opposition. And you remember, we don't even have an opposition in this country. We have a minority and majority. I think we need to debunk some of these terminologies that are not constructive. If people cannot register because they don't think they will even be given an opportunity to elect somebody, then what you have done is you have given your vote to the person in the opposite camp or in the opposing camp. And I see some apathy in the areas that are being told to merge. The excitement to go and register is not as much as it is in other areas. I know maybe many reasons, but I think this could also be one of the reasons. Why is it that I would want to encourage my mother, who is now about 90 years old, to go and register and vote 2013 if I think 2017 if I think and I know that the only way she will exercise her right to choice is through a nomination process, and we know how difficult it is to conduct nomination processes in parties in this country. My mother cannot go and push around with the young people. I will want her to remain at home, and for that reason, why is she going to register? I think we need to think through this process. We need to be very careful about what we are doing. And let me also say this. If in the areas that are being told, merge into one party, and you have two strong candidates. In fact, let me give an example, like, I don't know whether that is going to be, but look at, for example, Kiabu. We have Kavoko, we have Waititu. Both of them very strong forces. If they are not going to get an opportunity, the followers of one are not going to get an opportunity to cast their vote at the end. Because they will be both of them will be Jab. Yeah, if they end up in Jab, then it means that like half of Kiabu will have felt like our person is not there. Why are they going to vote? It will actually impact on the presidential vote. You could be playing into the hands of the opposition through some of these things. And also, perhaps, you could also be encouraging other parties in the opposition to come into your area, because they are the only alternative available for people to express their. So I don't think this thing of a merger is a good thing for us at this time. And I also want to be a little bit suspicious. It's being marketed more in Mount Kenya region than opposed to other areas. I see people marketing it in Mount Kenya, but in other regions you're marketing it. I don't know. I see Rift Valley, the marketing of one party system in Rift Valley being done from Nairobi through the media. But when they are on the ground, I don't see them pushing the same agenda like they are pushing it when they are in Mount Kenya region.
Are you saying the deputy president is not campaigning for the abolition of URP in Rift Valley? I think the formation of Jubilee Party. I think, and I hope that the people pushing for that is more than himself alone. Of course, he has been more forceful. He's come out more asking for the one party thing. I saw him yesterday in Nyandarua, for example, in Kinangop. He talked about the one party. And unless you did not cover him well, I didn't see the same message taken to Narok. I saw him when there was that spat with Munya in Meru. But the following day when he is in Eldoret, I don't see the same vigor. And I think it is important that we all sit down and think very clearly and very thoroughly about this thing. And I'm not opposed to one party thing, but we start to lose being in one party than to gain. My fear is that it also injures the presidential candidature of Uhuru Kenyatta in terms of the number, the turnout. We already have voter registration apathy. It is going to translate to apathy in terms of the people who turn out to vote. And we have seen it in the past. Do you think that the president himself is for the merger, and is he campaigning for it? Well, I think he is. I have heard him talk about it, but I see the deputy and Keraito and Wekesa more enthusiastic, and I'm not voting them, but I'm just, as a person who has been in politics, somebody who is interested in the future of the community that I come from. We are now thinking in terms of community. I can clearly say and advise for the community that we come from, given what we saw and went through at Kanu, and the fact that even our own people are still suffering from the injuries that were occasioned on them because of the one-party regime, I think it is not really a good thing for us to rush into one-party thing. But when you have Jubilee Party, the people can go to ODM. That's it. That's not saying. That's the other thing, Mutengi, I'm saying. So there's not one party. It's not one party, but it is one party in the sense of party that you would like to choose for your area. But that's what I'm saying. In reverse, you could also be marketing COD, ODM, in the areas that they have had difficulties penetrating there before. If these are the desired effect, that's it. Those are the things we are likely to get. But it is important that we want to win. I mean, that is why people get into, you want to power
and we want power 2017, I have my doubts as to whether this thing of one party is anything that is going to take us.
The registrar of political parties was here at this program the other day, a few weeks ago, and she told us we have about 50 parties.
Yes.
So there's no question of one party. What do you mean by one party?
One party is, you see what happens in politics now, and even so it in 2013, is that our politics seems to revolve around some specific individuals. What is now, and then when you're marketing your party, you market like it's a community party.
That's what they're trying to avoid. So that we don't have tribal parties, one national party.
We had this from 1919 when they said that we became a one party thing, at Dakano.
Just 64.
Not even 64, because it was the second president. That is when we really got to achieve.
1982.
Yes, 1982 after the coup.
82 after the coup.
And we were told that the way to kill tribalism is to remain in one party.
Yeah.
But what did we get out of it, honestly? I mean, we can't have such short memories. It was so painful even for the unborn. I mean, it just beats me. I can't quite understand what it is that is being said. But I agree, we have many parties. What then needs to be done is that room needs to be left clearly, and room needs to be left for other parties to grow themselves.
But they're there.
And that is why, like, for example...
They're there. As I said, they're more than 50.
But you don't need to muscle, you don't need to bulldoze others into it. And I think that's why we are saying in PNU, we will support the candidature of President Uhuru Kenyatta 2017, but we would want to do it as a party, not as members of one party. We would want to do it and also have the opportunity to field candidates in other places, so that Kenyans can also exercise their right and to choose. It helps when you have people from different parties. They all have, you're not, because you see what happens in communities and regions. For example, Mount Kenya would be wanted to say, we want to have a second term for President Uhuru Kenyatta. So what is now happening with the people in Parliament, in the Senate, and even some governors, is that since they know that there is almost that resolve 100%, then they want to make sure that everybody else who is not in the party that we have now agreed to elect, now that we have agreed to elect President Uhuru Kenyatta, for you to be seen to be supporting him, you must be in that one party. So it's a reverse way of forcing people into one party and making sure that anybody else who is anywhere else will look like he's a betrayer, he's a traitor, he doesn't agree with the thinking of others.
In 2013, Perites, for instance, had bus.
Yes.
And he supported the president and he stole the bus. Only he's going to resolve it now. There was also another party called GNU. And they also Kinjuri's other party. And all these parties were there. They supported the president.
And I think that is the same thing that should be allowed to continue, so that parties don't die with you. They need to be left for other generations to use to ascend to power. Now, this is not what is being encouraged 2017. 2017 is that we should not even have those buses. And you can see the owner or the driver of the bus started by parking it, eventually dismantling it and winding it up without any ceremony. And others are being told to do the same. And other than even that political front, there is also the other angle to it, that political parties are institutions that have even been given life through the Constitution. You look at a party like PNU, it was funded from the political party fund that comes directly from Treasury, taxpayers' money. And you need to tell people how you use that money. It is not money that you can't receive taxpayers' money, and when you want to wind up, you wind up. And finish. These are institutions that cannot just be wound up that easily. I have mentioned that the institutions that have assets, what do you do with the assets that were bought using taxpayers' money? So I think it is not as easy as it was before. And of course now, the other issues I've talked about, why is it that we should be careful about getting into one party? What about if these parties are taken over at a future date by a total dictator? and you have nowhere else to go because you've been locked in, or by the time that you can migrate to another party, it is not enough for you to even influence the leadership. You will have been an irresponsible generation, and the younger people who come will say, our fathers who are ahead of us hawakuwa nafikiria hata kidogo.
So in terms of Mount Kenya, since PNU is not
is not merging,
and I don't think DP is merging.
DP is not
I've heard
merging.
DP saying they're not merging.
Yes.
So who is merging?
I don't know.
Just TNA.
And I don't even think TNA is merging. I want you to challenge them by let them come and give you the legal documents, but the legal process.
The process is going on.
I let them tell you this is the day and get it, because there's already a court case blocking the merging or dissolution of TNA. I want you also to check the movement of URP, because I don't think that is going on. I mean, these parties are not quite, there are individuals who can say go into this direction, but they are public institutions. When there was an attempt to dissolve PNU 2013, what the court said is that this is a party with hundreds of thousands of members. You can't sit 3-4 of you and decide to dissolve a party. It doesn't belong to you. You are only officials entrusted with the management of it for a while. After that, you move on, and the party is left for others. So even this issue of merger and dissolving parties, is not something that, and I want you to interrogate it further. Get to talk to not just the political leaders, get to talk to the people who are managing the parties, but also have a feel of the grassroots. You will see, I don't know, I think one of why is it that we're having difficulties in Kericho, for example. I think one of the things they are trying to say is that don't push us into one basket. Allow us some space. We will elect you, we will support you, but don't just put us together in a hurry and move around with us in a market in that way. It is a protest of some sort.
So in your view, what you are saying is that we are going to have a minority. The main problem you have is nomination. That political party nominations for candidature. That once you merge, if you are not nominated by that gap, then you are done.
It's over. Done. Kaput. And I want to tell you this. There is no party that can come here and tell you that they will conduct a fair nomination process.
You know there's a lot of corruption.
And even not corruption. Look at it this way. How much do we need to cough out as a country to conduct the 2017 general election? We are looking at the excess of 10-15 billion shillings. That's the kind of budget we've been given. For you to conduct a fair nomination process in the country, you need an equivalent amount of money, because it is actually an election that you're going to do for purposes of that party. So if you have 3, 4, 5 parties, you're saying that it is that 10-15 billion times 4-5 times. There is no party that is going to afford that kind of money. Even if it is funded by an individual, immediately the individual funds to the tune of 15-20 billion shillings, then you expect the individual to ask for the money back one way or another after the nomination process. So you cannot guarantee, or you cannot come and tell us there will be a fair nomination process. You can't afford it. We are struggling as a country to fund the elections for 2017. So without doubt, you will then expect some people to sit somewhere and say, we are better off with this person in this area. You do some funny nomination process, but the certificate is already with the person of your choice. And if Kenyans come to wake up to this reality, that there cannot be a fair nomination, you cannot be able to do nomination. And again, there are many people who cannot be able to show up, in the nomination. I have given an example of my mother. At the age of almost 90, she is not going to be able to struggle to go and do that nomination thing. So there are a huge chunk of people who will be denied that constitutional right to exercise their right to choice. And nomination process cannot be afforded by a party to the point where it becomes free and fair. It can't happen. Not in Kenya. Even in America, look at the nomination process that is going there. It's through delegates. It is not everybody who goes out and votes. So, and once you are in that kind of thing, you have to be very, very careful in our country.
Let me see what the viewers are saying. Somebody is saying, Mutegi Kioni is, it is true, we are not going back to single party. Keep it up. Somebody called OPJKK supporting you there. And I think that's all the comment there is. So, in your view, you don't see any magic?
The mergers will be there, but
the pre-election magic?
It's not going to. And again also, remember Mutegi what happened in 2013. Because of issues that are known to us, that galvanize people together, and we were able to create a euphoria, or a euphoric feeling was there in the country, which was necessary.
It normally happens during elections.
It is becoming a little bit difficult this time round to create a euphoria, unless there is something that is going to galvanize people, emotive issue. For as long as there is no emotive issue, you are likely to have many parties there. It is likely to be. This desire was there 2007 pre. 2005, 2006, we could see the formation of Naki Kenya. All those parties were formed to try and bring everybody on board. They were monopolized by those who are sitting members of parliament, sitting members of the county councils. After that, those who were vying, who were interested in getting into the political scene, were also looking for a way. How do we get in there? And these people in office will not allow us, because they are in offices where these certificates are being manufactured. They would manufacture some for their own. So you would have this clamor, but nearer 2017, the reality is that people will have to be allowed to vie for positions through other political parties. And my thing is that even for the presidential candidate, and especially for President Uhuru Kenyatta, for a proper voter turnout in the areas that he gets maximum support, he needs more than one party to mobilize people to turn up or to turn out for voting. Allowing one party means a good 10, 15, 20% of voters would not see a reason to go and vote. He is the only presidential candidate. This person is our member of parliament. I don't even need to go and vote. We are there. He's not competing with anybody. So why is it that I spend my money to go and vote? It is very, very dangerous, given how close the numbers have been in the past. It's not good for the area that I come from. It's not good for this country. We need to have a decisive election, and that is only possible with a good voter turnout. It does not happen when you have this monolithic way of thinking.
What about, you have now talked about voter registration. We say there is no enthusiasm. And you have seen because of this? Because I can see Raila. In fact, Raila is telling the people, the CORD people and the ODM people, leave Nairobi, go and register voters. How come I'm not hearing this in Central Province and Mount Kenya?
There is the issue of complacency, which is there in Mount Kenya region. We have always won, and people have always gone out on their own accord to register and to vote. I know a little bit of voting has a lot to do with the competition level that is there. But you see, there were assurances by the Deputy President that we are in power, there is no way we are going to lose. Some of these statements just go to get people to relax. There is that confidence, that also the feeling that they are in government, so they know how they can, they know it better. They don't need that much of our support. And the excitement that was there 2013 is not there now. We have a new constitution that seems to spread power, and it actually does spread power. In terms of developments and resources, people know now whether you vote X or Y or not, money will still be allocated to your county. Some of these things are the things that are really making people a little bit apathetic to these processes. But the leadership, the members of parliament, members of the county assembly, members of the governors, the Senate in Mount Kenya region have not been as enthusiastic as others. You see, 2013, in the media, the campaign you carried was that why is it that they lost, the other side lost? It's because people had not registered as voters. They did not turn out to vote.
Yeah, that's what that campaign, the so-called
tyranny of numbers.
Yeah.
That campaign was taken very seriously by the leaders of that region. And they've been campaigning for people to register, take ID, register, take ID, since that day. And I can tell you, for example, like Western Kenya, every weekend, kwa kila masichi, hiyo ndio imekuwa lugha. So you can now see one side of the country really excited and gearing up to vote and register and to win. The other side must play catch up. There is time, but our leaders in our regions must wake up. And of course, they also need to be believable. The fact that, you know, quite a huge chunk of them came in through euphoria. So they have no sway on the people. They can't push people into a given direction. People don't trust them. It will actually may take the president and the deputy themselves to get people in those regions to come out and vote. But some of the people, quite a number of people who were elected and completely unknown, they have never had, they've not impacted on the people's way of thinking for the 5 years, 3-4 years that they have been there. So it's quite some work that needs to be done in Central Kenya, especially.
But our political parties in the third world, in Africa, maybe unless Tanzania. But our political parties, there is no difference between ODM and Jubilee and whatever. There's not much of a philosophy. For instance, you left UDF, you went to PNU.
Yes.
I don't know whether there's any. What's changed?
There's nothing that changed, Mutegi. What I can tell you is that from the year 2002, in fact from 1992, if you would want to know where we belong, the manifesto that has taken this country all the way to 2013 was the manifesto that was done in 1992. The people who sat and came up with the DP manifesto in 1992 are the same people who've been there since up to 2012. So even the thinking that has been there even in UDF and PNU, that's why it's not difficult to move, because you can see what you think needs to be done is still something that you conceived with others, and it was conceived by the Mwai Kibaki and his team. With us, we were just toddlers, maybe, the young people. We used to be called the young tax. But that thinking, it is still there. And I can tell you that we still subscribe to the same philosophy, the same ideology, the same way of moving the country, of course with different speeds. And that's why even issues like 2030, Vision 2030, were conceived. And so when if you ask me what's the difference between DP, UDF, NAC, the NRC and PNU, I'll tell you the agenda has been the same. We are where we are because of that agenda that was conceived in 1992. And we have something to show and be proud of.
So for PNU, you are not running, you are not fielding a presidential candidate?
No, we have no presidential candidate. The presidential candidate for PNU will be Uhuru Kenyatta.
Wow. But they are saying you merge.
Well, we are saying it's not prudent to merge. And it's not a quarrel, it's not a violent disagreement, it's something that you can put on the table. And
so when you field your Senate candidates and also members of Parliament, will you be in affiliation? Because they are saying the door will be closed. So your MPs will be what now? And the senators? Once they win,
they will be MPs, they will be senators of PNU. The Constitution allows for the existence of PNU. The Political Parties Act allows for that existence. The new act that is being put in place still allows for existence of other parties. They are talking of the parties that are in a coalition. Once you merge, and you know the fear is that if they merge, those in Parliament will become independent. It will be difficult to whip them into line. So that's why the desire to have an act of Parliament that can bring some discipline and direct the members in a given way. As to whether it will pass, we are going to see it. Whether it is a useful one for this country, I don't think it is. But again, there are those leaders at any given time who make decisions on our behalf. Ours is to inform that, and my position is that it's not the best thing to do, and especially for Mount Kenya region. It is a very, dangerous thing to be put in one basket. We may be safe under Uhuru. How are we thereafter?
Thank you very much, Honorable Kioni. I hope our viewers now know it may be dangerous to march. And with those remarks, we are going to listen to the two-man band that is going to sing for us.